der zentralen Position. Nur Schwarze hat er noch Vorsicht. Dann ist es Fernhoff. Er ist im Strafraum. Und der Feld. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrje!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. We are here, Dad, in a hotel in Manchester. A little rarity, I guess, the fact that we get to sit together, talk about the Bundesliga together, catch up, and I guess let's say why we're here. What are we doing in a hotel room in Manchester together?
Yes, I'm always in a hotel room in Manchester, so that is not rare. I'm here because I did the weekend. I did Arsenal against Fulham, which was an interesting game, a roller coaster. I interviewed Arteta. He was come right from losing 2 points, and Silva was interesting to interview because he got his heart outside his shirt when he talks about all the things, and he got his third yellow card, so he was a bit furious. I know he's suspended in the next game. And then I did Sheffield United. I went back to Sheffield United, doing Sheffield United against Manchester City. You know that I love my former clubs. I follow them closely, but I'm not the guy going down the memory lane. And it's always I brought you to a lot of these old clubs and people, and you always say, why don't you go off, and all the people, they love to see you and you love to see them. But I guess I love to go there and a fantastic day at Sheffield, but it's a memory lane. You have to see forward, but it was great to be back there. And now we're here, and Marcus, I know that you've spent all your weekend more or less preparing, and the last year preparing for this. We are here because the professional football organization, PFA, have the PFA award, which is the biggest prize you can win, because it's your colleagues in the Premier League and all the divisions in England nominating and voting for their player.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's a very prestigious individual award. We got 2 Norwegians nominated for men's player of the year in Ødegaard and Haaland. And then we also got the women's. We got Frida Monum, we got Guro Reiten, which I think, believe it or not, I think we're the second most represented country behind England. Which
we're very proud.
Of course. So, tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow,
Tuesday.
Yes, and the winner will be announced. And I'll also include, for those on video, I will include the clip of you on Bramall Lane, because I do think it was special, obviously with the airplane celebration.
Yeah, we'll put that out.
And going back to there, which I said to you, listen, Dad, when you accomplish, it's good to every now and again have a feeling of how it is to go back, and so it warmed my heart when I saw it.
And you were mascot at Bramall Lane. I remember that back in the days. I remember you in front of the cup. You took the ball. I think we played Stoke. It was a wet, rainy day against Stoke. It's not a cliche. It was against Stoke. And you were running with the ball and scored in front of the cup. I was thinking of that yesterday. But Marcus, I think also the job you're doing in the PFA now, you have had the privilege. This is a 50th year of the PFA Awards. And you and your colleague Liam have been able to interview more or less all previous winners.
Fantastic, and I think what I appreciate is through you, having grown up, but obviously you collected the football cards when you were younger, and so I got a little insight into that. But we're both football geeks, I guess, in that sense. So for me to be able to tap into your heroes growing up has been special for me as well, because then I've been able to go all the way back to Colin Todd and to Clive
Derby legends.
Yes, Peter Shilton.
Wow, what a legend! Nottingham Forest, Leicester,
Pat Jennings.
Oh, Pat Jennings.
a lot of legends, right? And for my heroes as well, meeting them. But tapping into like the whole generation. And then I think it's special because then I had the fortune to talk to Ruud van Nistelrooy, and he picks his five-a-side team. And who does he pick as a striker? He picks Ian Rush.
Wow.
And so I like the kind of the meshing of one generation to another, and hearing him talk about Ian Rush and how he inspired his goal scoring. I think that's important to celebrate heritage, celebrate tomorrow's winners. There will be Merit Award winners there as well. It's special. It's a special time. And also just to conclude the prestigiousness of getting voted for by your colleagues. Didn't you in Austria? You get voted?
Yeah, I was
by colleagues?
Yes, I was. No, that was the fans. I was Player of the Year in 1990. I was the second foreigner who had won that prestigious award. There was a guy called Bjerregaard, a Danish guy who did that before me, and it was fantastic. And it's a good feeling. And I still, my relation to PFA awards, I went there a couple of 3 times. I know it's a different thing tomorrow because back in the days there were a lot of throwing of potatoes and a lot of pissed footballers. It need to be said. So it's a bit different now. It's more like an award, I understand, in a big theatre. But I remember even in the year when I played for Swindon and Middlesbrough in the championship, and I was nominated for the team of the season. I think it was a fantastic honor, and it still warmed me that my colleagues kind of praised the job I had done. Mm-hmm. And I think we have that in common. And before we go now to German football, is that we have that love for the history. And sometimes when you arrive today at the hotel, I was listening to another podcast. One of my favorites, Rest is Football, with three, I would say, legends. Richards will be included in that legend, with Lineker and Shearer as well. And Gary Lineker said he was talking about the time, and he used the phrase before. Football didn't exist before the Premier League, but we know that, and Gary Lineker being one of my heroes, and Gary Lineker having his heroes,
and also a winner of the PFA award.
Exactly, yeah. And his one of his favourites growing up in Leicester with Leicester was Frank Worthington. He was a flamboyant kind of playboy, but a fantastic footballer. And when I came to England, Frank Worthington came to training, and I was struggling at the time. And I remember Frankie boy, rest his peace, because he has left us. But when he came in, I felt so good to meet your heroes. And now let's go to Germany. Let's go to Germany.
It's important to celebrate a little football heritage. But let's go into Germany, the Bundesliga. Again, I mean, the Bundesliga, we love it for each round that goals, entertainment, great narratives. And as we usually do that, we kind of go from top to bottom in a way.
I put on my glasses.
Yes, please do. Get ready.
Yeah.
You're in research mode. But we're only 2 games in, right? We have to be careful in terms of how we judge the table, how we judge form. But if we look, maybe we should start with the bit more worrying piece in terms of Dortmund, who we predicted being the main challenger for Bayern Munich. And let's just explore the Dortmund, Leverkusen, Bayern. It's 2 games in, of course. But how do you assess kind of their trajectories, if you may?
Well, I think when we do the tips before the season, it's this time of the year where everybody said that Leverkusen will do well, and they've done well. They beat RB Leipzig in their first game, had a very convincingly win against Gladbach away from home. I mean, them going forward is fantastic at the moment. With Victor Boniface, and when we do our player of the round, I'll probably go there, as he has a background also for Norwegian football. Bayern looking very good in terms of getting the results, winning 3-0 now. 3-1, sorry. They got a equalizer at the end, and I think that will annoy them a bit as well. But convincingly, not great, but they're winning and they're scoring goals, and which is not surprisingly. Leverkusen, I said. RB Leipzig coming back from that loss and winning big time against Stuttgart, going from 5 up, 5 down. So that is. But the worrying thing is Dortmund, because Dortmund, they haven't looked good. Malen is looking good. He's been written off many times. What I don't like about Dortmund is that lack of winning DNA. And I say it with respect, because I think it's easier to say, they won the Champions League, and they were very close last season, only to lose against or play a draw against Mainz. A win would have given them the championship. But there is something about that attitude I don't like in that dressing room. Now they're complaining about Jude Bellingham, and it's I'm not saying we should read everything into the headlines in German football, but we know the German journalists who are writing this story, they have spoken to people, and we're so happy that Jude Bellingham is gone. So good, because he was this, he was that, he was this, and he was that. His body language, and he was a bit, hello, this is Jude Bellingham. And they did the same when Erling Haaland left. And then they would say, but we did better after Erling left because we nearly won the league. Yeah, but that was a shit Bundesliga last year. I mean, they gave Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich didn't want to win the championship last year, and they're still ending up winning the trophy. So that quality I don't like. I like clubs that, like Bayern, there is a fight, but they need these kind of guys in there. They need a Stefan Effenberg. They need a Joshua Kimmich using his things.
Yeah. Well, to what degree do you attribute that to the people in charge, the culture? Is it a narrative being spun saying, hey, well, listen, we lost one of the best midfielders of our generation?
Who is now fantastic for Real Madrid.
Right?
He's maybe the player of Europe at the
Yes.
moment. So then, yes, it's a good question, because the culture you build up, you build up a kind of culture, and you can get people in to change that culture. And Dortmund at their best, when Jurgen Klopp was there, they had Jurgen himself. He wanted everything for that team. They're winning everything. They had a double. They took away that dominance from Bayern Munich. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And I think that maybe they're right. Maybe Erling was this or Jude was that. I don't care. You have to find a way to be able to play them. It's the same with the Norwegian national team, with the ladies going to Australia and New Zealand. There's not a problem. The problem is that you don't get the best out of Ada Hegerberg and Caroline Graham Hansen. And the solution is not to put them out of the team or saying, well, we're better without them. Find a way.
Yeah.
Find a way to get them in there. And that's what we're missing with Dortmund. I think that could be the problem going forward. And this 1-1 was not good enough.
And it was worrying because Bochum had their fair share of chances, hit the woodwork a few times, had a lot of chances, and if not for a very good Kobel, who I would argue now is the best goalkeeper in the Bundesliga, he had some clutch saves. Yeah, they gotta watch out, because I think we've praised kind of their signings, very shrewd signings with Bundesliga experiences, but not been very convincing. If it weren't for a very late goal against Köln, they would have had 2 points, right? So interesting. If we counter that with kind of the example of a growing, more confident culture brewing since Xabi Alonso came in now with Leverkusen. What I do like with that team, and we've discussed it briefly, you tip them to be top 4, and there's always that optimism. But I'm, like I've said before, a huge admirer of Granit Xhaka. I think he was excellent against Gladbach, but then you have this mix. You have Victor Boniface, Hoffmann, and going away to Gladbach, who are still in and Wirtz as well.
But I had a team here, Marcus, because it's quite interesting, because that's what I did. They're playing like a 2-1 at the top. So they have Boniface, the big striker, at Baumgartner. And maybe I said that in the last episode. He said, I would rather have him than Kane. That is a big statement from a Köln manager. And they play with Tim and Wirtz and Hoffmann behind him. And what is interesting with Xhaka, that is I like with Simon Rolfes. They see that you have to change the culture of a club. You need winners in there, and you get Xhaka in there. So Simon Rolfes is doing a fantastic job. And with Xabi Alonso, when your former clubs are Real Madrid, Bayern Munich and Liverpool, there is a chance that man will get, and in no disrespect to Leverkusen, I think it's a fantastic place for him to start, and I think he will be successful there. But it's a great step for his coaching career.
And talking about shrewd signings as well, they just signed Nathan Tella from Southampton on loan from Burnley last season. Actually, was one of the PFA nominees in terms of championship. He was Burnley's top scorer.
19 goals. Or
17 or 19 goals.
I believe you.
We'll see. We'll check. But a very good, exciting young player. Has records to his name. And so a lot of interesting profiles. And then after the international break, a couple of weeks after the international break, I think they're going to play Bayern as well, which will be a real test in terms of where is this.
I think I'm doing that game. I
Oh, yeah.
I think I was asked by ESPN to go down and do it.
Okay.
So that is my comeback on the German pitches. So I look forward to that. It's a Friday game. Yeah.
I think it's something that we want, a little Friday game for a foreign audience to have a look at as well, and now with Kane as well attracting interest. You mentioned the RB Leipzig game. 1-0 Stuttgart were up, Gurasai scored, and then a back pass with Nubel hitting it into Hendricks, what have you, 1-1. Dani Olmo with a fantastic piece of skill. RB Leipzig very convincing in the second half, tale of two halves in a way, but 5-1 RB Leipzig. You have a lot of interesting profiles and teams, and then an Union there as well. It's a pretty. Can we say that it's the top 5-6 is already established? Yeah.
Freiburg,
who also have a 100% record.
Yeah, Freiburg winning again. And the interesting thing with Union Berlin, before I say, first of all, I love to watch RB Leipzig. There's something about the power in the game. I know that as we're doing this on a Monday, Newcastle lost against Liverpool, but I love the power of Newcastle as well. When they do fine, I like that kind of going forward, that power. Not that I'm not like Arsenal and Manchester City, but there are times they only pass the ball. I like this rock and roll just going forward as a neutral. As a fan, I understand that could be something a bit risky. As Newcastle know, saw if you didn't do the 2-0, then you could be stronger when Nunes came on and made 2 goals. But it's something about RB Leipzig. But I think that with Union Berlin, you have Urs Fischer, who's the coach there. You have Oliver Ruhnert. Derek Ray will have a go at me now, I guess. Great manager, just doing their job, and them doing a fantastic job in the Champions League this season. Everybody said this will be a difficult season for them when you have the double Belastung, the double games playing all the time. But Union Berlin, a fantastic game. And I think, Marcus, that could be an introduction to your player on round. I think that we picked one each, so
yes.
Should we start with your...
Well, yeah, let's put it into a context. We discussed last week in terms of Union Berlin's recruitment. I tipped them to be top 4 in the sense that we always tend to think, okay, but surely Union Berlin cannot be continuing this, because the only way for them to really better their results from last season is to get 3rd or higher. And then the fact that they got Champions League is fantastic. They have the Champions League football this season, but they're well prepared. They brought in some fantastic new signings, smart signings for Union Berlin.
Smart.
One of which being...
Key is smart.
Smart. And for good prices, right?
Good, yeah.
One of which being who made his Bundesliga debut actually last week. His Bundesliga starting debut this week in Robin Gosens. And what's better than 2 goals? What I love is Union Berlin win 4-1 for the second game running.
8-2 goal difference.
Exactly. Robin Gosens scores 2, but they're so dangerous of set pieces. Robin Gosens has an excellent finish for the first, a great header for the second, but makes his Bundesliga debut, gone a bit of an unconventional route, gone to Netherlands and gone through that whole, been to Heracles and the whole lot, and teams people might not even heard of, and goes to Atalanta and established himself, had a great tournament for Germany as well, the Euros I believe, and then comes back to the Bundesliga. And I love those cases in which it's not the traditional route, but it is one in which he's found himself now back to one of the best clubs in Germany, we have to say this much, playing Champions League football, and 2 goals to mark his starting debut in the Bundesliga. Fantastic. So that's my player of the round.
Fantastic story, and is also an answer to any future quizzes. How many players have made a debut for German national team before they played in the Bundesliga? And I saw that the other day. I can't remember all of them, but there was some of them.
Is this a quiz?
This is a quiz for you at home. How many German players have made a debut for the German national team before they made a debut in the Bundesliga? Gosens is one of them. Great player. I will straight go to my player of the round. That is Boniface. And the thing is that strikers, we love strikers. And I remember when he came to Bodø/Glimt, and you sent me a great link to that. He went to Bodø/Glimt, and Bodø/Glimt, talking about being good in recruitment, Bodø/Glimt now the best team in Norway, struggling a bit this year to keep Viking away from them. But I've been fantastic the way they play football. Remember, they went all the way to the semi-final of the Conference League. Beat Rome 6-1. Roma 6-1 at home. I was at that game. Fantastic to interview Jose Mourinho after the game with his hat down there. And he went in and just, what did he do? He just threw the whole team under the bus. I can never trust those players again, and so on. Fantastic experience. It was cold. But Victor Boniface, then being in Norway will always be a place where you come to develop, and then you have to sell them when the clubs come in. And to be fair, the Norwegian clubs now are selling them for quite good money. But then he goes to Belgian football, and help me, Union.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I'll put my glasses on.
Union
Saint-Gélin. Yeah, okay, it's good enough. Going there, and then that is a good way for Norwegian footballers, and I'm counting him then as he's Nigerian, isn't he? And Victoria Boniface. Going then come from Norwegian football to Belgian football or Dutch football or what I do all them, and then they go to the big clubs. And he's fantastic, and he's a powerhouse. He's like that's the striker. I think he's only 22.
Very young,
very young player, and I think this is a player that the next step for him. Going to Leverkusen, he will be linked with English clubs 100% at one stage. But I think it's very wise move from him, as Jude went to Dortmund, as Erling went to Dortmund, and they take the next step. Sancho going to Dortmund, and so And you see that. I think that Simon Rolfes have learned a lot now. They learn from each other. They influence from each other. Getting this great player from Southampton, developing. Still a work in progress, but still a great signing for Leverkusen with Boniface. And Boniface, can you imagine when you're having Florian Wirtz behind you, Hoffmann, who came back to his Gladbach and did ever so well. So great signings by so he's my player of the dritte Runde.
Yes.
Third round.
Second.
Second round. But he will be my third round pick as well.
Yeah.
And Mark is so polite. He's like, is that not second? Yeah, okay, thank you. You know that a small thing, we said it last year, because they haven't started yet to do the Englische Woche. Englische Woche is translated to the English week, because in German they play normally one game on Friday, then 2 games on Sunday, and the rest on Saturday, and then the Topspiel will be 6:30 local time. But then they play it sometimes Tuesday and Wednesday, and they call it the Englische Woche. So they haven't started yet, but they love that, and they think, wow, the English do this all the time with their cups and everything, and the Germans have so much respect for English football. That is the bridge to an English captain.
Yeah, we can't
Now,
end this podcast.
Before we end this podcast, we have to go to Bayern.
And we usually start with Bayern as well, but like you said in the initial phases of this episode, it was a pretty standard win, more so, but not a sensational win at that, in the sense that very much expected to beat Augsburg at home, do so. Not really with like spellbounding kind of football, but win 3-1. You bring in a Harry Kane, he's there to score goals. He scores 2 goals, a penalty, and another nice little dink in terms of the finish. Explain that to me.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Good point that they went convincingly. 1-0 was an own goal, then the penalty, 2-0, and then Kane. I start with the last one. The ball, Davies, a fantastic run by Davies. Davies make the cross, and he makes it look simple. But if you isolate what he's doing, he more or less, I heard one say it's a toe pick. No! He went in with it outside and just chipped the ball over the goalkeeper. He makes it look very simple. Yeah, and that's the Harry Kane, quite relaxed, kiss his ring, come on, all the best to him, got his 4th kid, Henry, go back. Everything is what he's doing is perfect. Go to England, see his 4th child is born, comes back, score 2 goals. And it just says something about Harry Kane. Everybody loves him. I mean, I've read all the magazines. They love him. He's the most polite guy. He talks to everyone. He is always smiling and everything. And I think as well, Marcus, we've, through your career and through my career, always this thing that not to be too nervous, but still got to be a bit nervous. So here is Harry Kane. Yes, he's played at Allianz before at the Super Cup where he lost against Leipzig, but this was his proper debut at home. They get a penalty, and he is in front of the Allianz Arena. Allianz Arena, they were just expecting Harry Kane. Harry Kane come up, what is he doing? Putting the penalty in the middle of the goal. Yeah. I mean, there's something in there, and I was an okay player, Marcus. I scored my goals, I had a good scoring record. But I mean, that kind of thing, that you have that in an age of 30, and people will say, yeah, but maybe it's easier to do when you're 30. No, it's not, because sometimes it's differently, because you know if you start your Bayern career by missing a penalty at home, that's not good. But that's not in his head.
No.
These players, they got something, not only the physical skills they have, there is something about their mental status or skill that is world class, and I would have loved to have that when I played.
Yeah, it's hard not to like Harry Kane in the sense that he's, like you said, he goes by his job. He's an incredible finisher. Great family man, comes to Bayern, takes on a new challenge, and we love seeing Englishmen also playing abroad and thriving at that. So, the more eyes we can attract to the Bundesliga as well, the better. Just to conclude it, I guess, we have to... Jonas Wind scores 2 goals again for Wolfsburg. He's got 4 goals in 2 games. Freiburg won. Eintracht play 1-1 after a bit of clumsiness from the backline at Frankfurt, with both Trapp and Knauf getting sent off and what have you, but are able to save a point.
Both get sent off.
Pardon?
Did they both get sent off?
No. Knauf got sent off.
Okay, exactly. Yeah.
But
Knauf, I was the polite guy, because I read because there was Dino Topmüller and Trapp. They were not agree on how convincingly that was from Knauf. But yes, Frankfurt now over 2 First, Darmstadt, they beat at home. They're just down the road. Yeah, a bit dodgy, but they got 3 points. And then they got a lucky point against Mainz, who is also a local rival. Today, I read Monday, that Jesper Lindström is leaving them. He's going to Serie A. The Danish guy who was going, I think it was Napoli.
Okay.
Napoli. Amouani, we know these are the last days of all Frankfurt fans are praying that he will stay, but you never know. Will he stay? Will he not stay? PSG, it's in for him. Frankfurt has said we want 100 million for him. So hopefully they get a replacement in. But you saw the result this week, and I think that one team that it goes a bit under the radar. First of all, our friend Alex Rosén, they were down at Heidenheim, and Heidenheim was 2-0 up.
Yeah.
This was their first home game in the Bundesliga, and 2-0 down, lost 3-2. When you have players like Kramaric, you know that. And Bochum as well. Bochum is so convincingly, but still winning away from home against Köln. That is a great result.
Yeah, and we did say, Bochum had to be strong at home in order to save their spot. Obviously, the newcomers, Heidenheim and Darmstadt, 2 losses out of 2, so which will be tough. And 2-0 up against Hoffenheim. But Hoffenheim, my surprise team of the season, I guess that I've deemed them. They are there to get all 3 points.
Yeah, so, it just shows you how hard it is, Marcus. You see now in England, Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's tough.
Struggling. Heidenheim and Darmstadt struggling big time. And then I will go down, because these are smaller teams. If you go down to Zweite Liga, I always love to do that at the end. I found myself watching Hamburg. I love HSV, just to watch them. They played in Hannover, and 1-0 up, and the last 20 minutes, as they usually get a goal, they were fighting like bulls. They were all over the place, and they managed to win that game. And Hertha Berlin winning a game at home against Greuther Fürth. That was very, very good for them. And then Kiel, Holstein Kiel. Remember when you went to a trial at Holstein Kiel?
I did
indeed. Back in how many days were you there?
2 days.
2 days. And Marcus went to a trial at Holstein Kiel. And after 2 days, they were saying they were looking for a centre half that was small and quick, and they got this big.
Yeah, just do a Google search, man. It was quick. And,
but a good experience.
Yeah,
though.
Fantastic experience. I got to train with the Zweite Bundesliga team. Got to play one of those games. When you did that.
You
with
wanted to a lot.
Yeah, no, but you did that with Eintracht Frankfurt. The first game when you go to a local club and you win 55-0. Yeah. But a fantastic experience. And that's the reality of being a footballer, I guess.
Yeah, but Holstein Kiel, I started with Kiel because they won at Schalke.
Yeah.
And everybody says that they think Schalke will go up with Terodde. They have got a lot of good strikers. They have got a lot of goals in them, but losing 2-0. So it's tough to...
and the fun fact, the coach of Holstein Kiel at the time, he's now Hamburg coach.
Yeah, he is. and he was so typical. I saw him, and he's like coaches are. I'm not saying he's chubby, but he is. He's like me. He's like 50,
but you're not chubby.
50 plus, And he got that. But the good thing in Germany, the English coaches, they either have a tracksuit or they have a suit. But the German coaches, they always got something in between. So I had this college kind of sweater, and he won, and his body was all over the place. But great things. And I think it's interesting to see a game. I saw that game. I've played in Hannover, of course. The thing is, when the atmosphere in the stadiums in Germany, it's fantastic. I don't like to compare, but you see with Harry Kane as well, when he was at Weserstadion in the first round, there's something about the atmosphere, and I saw in Hannover with all the flags all the time and all the smoke, of course.
Yeah, but the average attendance in the Zweite Bundesliga as well
fantastic.
Is incredible, right?
Yeah.
And huge clubs, but for another time. And that concludes our second episode, round 2 summary of the Bundesliga. Any ending thoughts?
Yes, because it's the last days of the transfer window. We talked about that. And we have Perez.
The goalkeeper. First Israeli player for Bayern Munich.
Yes, and it's fantastic. I love these stories when players are coming from smaller nations, nations that love to have a representative, an ambassador in the countries. I know that as a Norwegian, how proud we were back in the days with Rune Bratseth and all these player played in Germany. And then we have, so Perez is coming in as an understudy to Ulreich.
Yeah.
We will see if he's competitive enough. Manuel Neuer seems to always be more and more fit. The more and more a player who is good, a goalkeeper is good, is coming there. So now they decided that Ulreich, for the time being, is number 1, waiting for Manuel Neuer, and then we see what Paris will do. But great. And then Tuchel wants a holding 6, a sexer. So what he's doing now is he's playing with 2. He's playing with Goretzka and Kimmich. Leimer, who they took from RB Leipzig, he was tried out at the right back during the game now against Augsburg. Leimer instead of Mazraoui. But he wants 1. He wants to change the system then and again. So we have 1 6 and he can have
because
2.
I believe they played a 4-3-3 against Augsburg as well. So to your point, they want maybe a more of a one defining.
Yeah, if we're going to have 1 6er, and then you can put another one in when you have Sané, you have Koeman, you have Gnabry, you have Müller, you have Kane. You got a lot of players to play somewhere. So, but he's desperate for that number 6. And then I read today from our good friends Christian Falk and Tobias Altschäfer. They were talking about Scott McTominay, that he was on the list of Bayern Munich. But hey, Scott McTominay, he's not a 6er. He's a great midfielder. I love him. He got a power in what he's done for Scotland. All respect what he's done for Scotland. But he'd been tried out for Scotland as a 6 as well. I would say he's more an 8 sometimes go into a 10 because he wants the ball. But no, so that is the holding 6 they want. And on Twitter, and the Manchester United fans were sending me tweets saying, shh, don't say anything because we have to offload him from the wage list. So we're funny to see.
Well, that's a bit harsh. But even still, it'll be interesting to see if Tuchel gets his will towards the end of this transfer window. But until that, it's been a pleasure to actually do this episode in person.
Do a handshake. First time we've done that.
And then, we'll be back. So, auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.